Hey guys, so I just want to quickly work through the quiz with you guys and make sure that you guys are using the test correction forms and fix the ones that you miss. Now if you didn't miss any of these, then just go ahead and fast forward a little bit or just sit and watch and continue to work on building and undoing equations. So let's jump right in. Number 1, solve the following equations. -3 minus 10k is equal to 97. So quickly here, I have a -3 or -3 is the same as subtracting 3 or -3. Okay, and then what I have here is -10k. Okay, this is going back to our rectangles, and then I have a positive 97. So let's quickly build it, but some quick number sense here. If I got something, take away -10 times something is equal to positive 97, I know that this quantity right here has got to be a positive number because -10 times something has to be something positive because I have a positive 97 on the other side. Okay, so what we're going to do here is quickly build it. Let readjust here. Okay, so building this, here is k. First thing that happens to k gets multiplied by -10. Now, some of you might have put multiply by positive 10. Be careful, because if you multiply by positive 10, that negative sign or subtracting sign doesn't disappear. And then it sits next to -3. So that's how you would do it. And undoing it, first thing I would do is the opposite of -3 is the same as positive 3. Again, positive 3 or plus 3 is the same. I'm not actually changing the value of the number. I'm actually just doing the inverse of -3, which is positive 3. And then I would divide by -10. Okay, so we're going to apply it to the face of our equation here. So the first thing following my undo. So the first thing I do is add 3 to both sides. This goes to 0. Drop down my -10k because it didn't get canceled out. Is equal to 97 plus 3 is 100. Next step here, so I just did that step. Next step says divide by -10. Okay, -10 divided by -10 is just 1k, or k is equal to -10. 100 divided by -10 is 10, and there is my solution. Okay, we can actually check this, verify our solution, right? So if we did something like -3 minus -10 times 10 times -10, excuse me, is equal to 97. Orders operations right here. -10 times 10 is going to be -100. Drop the negative sign, bring down the -3 right there. Keep flip change, still the same. You get -3 plus 100 is still 97. Solve the following equation. For 4x, take away 20 is equal to 0. Well, some number sense, I know that I got to make something equal 0. So a lot of you did this mentally, which is perfect because, you know what, 4 groups of something minus 20 is equal to 20. Well, the only way that we know that -20 with positive 20 is equal to 0. So then you're like, okay, what times 4? 4 groups of what is equal to 20? So it's got to be 5, right? 4 times 5 is 20. Or we can build it real quick. Okay, here's x. First thing, multiply by 4. I see that. And then that sits next to -20 or subtracting 20. Okay, so that is -20. The opposite or the inverse of -20 or subtracting 20 is positive 20. I'm actually not changing the value of the number. I'm just doing the inverse. Okay, divide by 4. So I'm going to apply that to my equation here. First thing, bottoms up. So plus 20 plus 20. That goes away. It'd be 0. I drop down the 4x is equal to 20. Next, check. I just did that one. Next, divide by 4. And x is equal to 5. Okay, I can say that a majority of us did that and got 5, so that's perfect. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. If I'm going kind of fast, go ahead and pause and slow the video down. Okay, so listen to how I build this one. X subtracting 10 or we can say x is sitting next to negative 10 divided by 7 is equal to 3. So if I'm going to build this, there's x. Notice how long my fraction bar is. So it's basically saying, hey, do everything here first. Okay, so it sits next to negative 10, or subtracting 10. Next, divide by 7. So the first thing I do is multiply by 7 and then add 10. Okay, that's my instructions to undo it. So going to my problem here, I'll rewrite it right here. First thing, multiply both sides by 7. Okay, that simplifies down to just one group of x minus 10 is equal to 21. Next, it says add 10. Okay, so I'm running out of room here, so I'll go over here. This is what I have right now. X minus 10 is equal to 21. It says, I just did that step. I just multiplied by 7. Next, I need to add 10. Again, I'm just undoing everything so that I can get one x by itself. 21 plus 10 is 31. Okay. We can actually check our work here, right? 31, take away 10 is 21. 21 split into 7 groups is 3. So we're just working backwards. Alright, next one. I have 7m plus 10 is equal to 52. Okay, again, some number sense. We figure out something plus 10 is equal to 52. So 42. 42 plus 10 is equal to 10. Why? Because we took 52 and we subtracted 10. We went back 10. It's 42. So you can quickly build it. Or you notice that 10 is the farthest away from m. So there's m times 7. Right? Because here is, don't move away from the rectangles. That might help us in the long run there. Because just recognize and see the sign. So m times positive 7 sits next to plus 10 or positive 10. So the first thing I do is subtract 10, divide by 7. Okay? So subtract 10, check. Got to do it at both sides. 7m is equal to 42. Next, I divide by 7. Check that off there. Do it to both sides. 7 groups of m split into 7. All I have left is one group of m. 42 split into 7th is 6. 7 times 2 is, 7 times 6 is 42. Plus 10 is 52. So that checks off. Okay. All right. Let's move on to number 5. So this one, solve the following inequality, and the instructions above says also graph. All right, so a couple things that we know already. I know that this is a greater than, so it's going to be an open circle. Okay, so I'm going to quickly build it. The same steps for solving equation. X gets multiplied by negative 4. Okay, because this means multiply. So doing the inverse of that would be divide both sides by negative 4. And the rule is, when you multiply or divide by a negative integer, you have to flip your sign. So I'm going to have to flip my sign, and I know it's an open circle. So divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive x. Negative 24 divided by negative 4 is 6. And since the inequality sign is greater than, I have to flip because I divide by negative. Now, if you're not too sure, I would write down both, and then we'll test it here in a little bit. Okay, and then to graph it, some of us kind of messed up on our number line here. Remember, number lines are read left to right. It's the least to greatest. So there's my 6, 7, 5, 4, 8. Open circle, and I am going to go all of the numbers that are less than 6. So that way. And how do you check? Well, we can actually pick a number underneath this number line. So let's do 4. I can actually put in 4 right there. Okay, so I'll do negative 4 times 4 is greater than negative 24. Well, negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Negative 16 is greater than negative 24 because we're dealing with negative, so that checks off. Okay, some of us forgot to flip the sign and draw the inequality arrow the wrong direction. Make sure that you test and verify that it works the way that we call that the truth arrow. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let it render for a second here. Okay, solve the following inequality. 3x minus 27 is less than or equal to 3. So right away, I know this is going to be a closed circle. And I may or may not have to flip the sign. I don't think I have to flip the sign because I don't see any multiplying or dividing by negative. So let's quickly build it. There's x. Multiplied by 3. Again, do little rectangles here. Find your x or your present that you're going to wrap. The first thing that's attached to it is multiplied by 3. And then it sits next to subtract 27 or negative 27. So the inverse of that, add 27 and then divide by 3. I'm going bottoms up here. So following my rules, my undo, add 27, add 27. I get 3x. That becomes 0 is less than or equal to 3 plus 27 is 30. I divide both sides by 3. Okay, I just added 27. I just divide by 3. 3x divided by 3 is just x. 30 divided by 3 is 10. And since I didn't divide by a negative number, I keep my inequality sign the same. So x is less than or equal to 10. Okay. Let me erase this stuff right here. So to graph this, my number line, since it's positive 10, 1 to the right, 1 to the left. Going left to right, least to greatest. It is going to be a closed circle. And I'm going to draw all the x values that is less than or equal to 10. So that would be 9, 8, 7, and so forth. And if we can actually check this, right, do 8, which is right here underneath the truth arrow. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, 24 minus 27 is negative 4, which, by the way, negative 24 is less than 3. Okay. Sorry, negative 3 is less than or equal to 3. So make sure you guys are checking. Next, same situation. 7x plus 14 is greater than or equal to 7. Okay. If you want to, you can pause the video and do this real quick based on this last example. It is identical, except for instead of subtracting 27, we're adding 14. All right, I'll go ahead and start. Here's x. Here's my little rectangle. First thing I notice is attached to x is it gets multiplied by 7. It sits next to positive 14. So the inverse of that, negative 14 or subtracting 14, again, they are the same. Divide by 7. Working my way up the chain there. So first thing I do to both sides, minus 14 becomes 0. I get 7x is greater than or equal to negative 7. 7 take away 14 is negative 7. Why? Because I'm sitting at 7. I need to go back 14. Well, 7 go back to 0. That's minus 7. Well, how far do I have to go until I hit 14? I have to go 7 more, and that's negative 7. Next step, divide both sides by 7. Since I'm not dividing by a negative number, x is going to be greater than or equal to negative 1. I don't need to flip it because I didn't divide by a negative number. Sketching this one, there's negative 1, 0, negative 2. We're dealing with negatives, so we got to go least to greatest, left to right. It's a closed circle. And it needs to go in the direction of all greater values. So that would be negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And we can actually check this. 0 is underneath my truth arrow. So we can actually put in 0. 7 times 0 plus 14 is greater than or equal to 7. All I did there was recopy the original problem. And I just plug in 0 for x because it's underneath my truth arrow, so to speak. And 0 times 7. 0 plus 14 is greater than or equal to 7. And already you can tell that 14 is greater than or equal to 7. That is a true statement. So this right here. Alright guys, so continuing on here, the next one, I have x take away 4 is greater than 19. Okay, so basically some number take away 4 is greater than 19. So we know that this is going to be an open circle. We know there's no multiplying, dividing, so we don't need to flip the sign. So going over here, there's x. The only thing that happens to it is it's next to negative 4 or subtracting 4. So what I do to both sides is add 4. Check. Add 4. Add 4. I get x is greater than 23. It's going to be an open circle. So there's 23. there's 24, there's 22, open circle, and it needs to be all the numbers that is greater than 23. But 23 isn't part of my answer. And we can quickly check this, right? You can do 24 minus 24. I am actually checking using 24 because it's underneath my truth arrow here. I'm just going to put it in for x. 24 take away 4 is greater than 19. 24 take away 4, 20. 20 is definitely greater than 19. So the arrow's pointing the right way. Okay. Number 9 and number 10, I didn't count these on the quiz because most of us weren't ready for it yet. So negative 6 take away x is less than or equal to 7. I know that that's going to be a closed circle. A good way to look at this is I have a negative 1x. Okay. So I'm just going to build it. There's x. I want a positive x. I always want a positive variable. Since I have a negative sign in front of it, or a negative 1, it's going to be, that technically just means that it's being multiplied by negative 1. And then it sits next to, again, drawing my rectangles here, it sits next to negative 6. So the first thing I do, add 6 to both sides, then divide by negative 1. Here I would have to flip my sign because I'm going to divide by negative. So first thing I do, add 6, I get negative 1x is less than or equal to 13. Next step, I just check that one off. Divide by negative 1 because I want a positive variable. So at the end, I have x, because this becomes just one positive 1x. 13 divided by negative 1 is negative 13. And since I divide by negative, I got to flip my sign. Okay, so drawing my number line here, it's going to be negative 13, negative 12, negative 14 is to far left because we're playing with the negatives here. Close circle, and I need to draw the arrow in pointing towards the number that's greater than negative 13, which would be negative 12 all the way up to positive infinity. Okay. Next, very similar problem. This is read as negative 4 take away x is greater than 6. Another way we can say this is negative 4 is sits next to negative 1 times x. Okay, so here's my building it. X times negative 1 sits next to negative 4. So all I gotta do is add 4 and then divide by negative 1. Going bottoms up there, add 4, becomes 0, so I get negative x is greater than 10. Next, I divide by negative 1. X, flipping my sign here because I'm dividing by negative 10. X is less than negative 10. Drawing my arrow. Since I'm playing with the negatives, I gotta go negative 10, negative 9 to the right, negative 11 to the left. Alright. Open circle. And this is x, all the numbers, x, because stand for x is less than negative 10, so it's going to be going this way. Okay, so there are your test corrections. Make sure that you guys are pausing the video and rewatching it, and then if you kind of want to challenge yourself, try to redo it without actually watching the video, and then watch the video at the end and check your solutions. Alright guys, thanks.